Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're coming back, I'm so glad to see you. Let's talk about hot topics. Let's talk about things that we're hearing right now, things that are upsetting, things how we feel about it. Let's talk about it. If you like what you see here, then I ask that you like, subscribe, and follow for more. Let's get into it. So some things I've been seeing going around on the internet, in the interwebs, and word of mouth is you're hearing a lot about fake nurses lately, and it just keeps coming and keeps coming. How do you feel about that? I feel like I worked really hard for my nursing degree, and I am shocked that people aren't checking better, because it seems like any job that I've had, someone has really had to do a thorough check. They had to, verify that I was a registered nurse and verify that I had an active license. But are we so desperate in healthcare now that we're not checking these things? Are we just letting people come on in? Are we not really checking these things? I'm shocked about this stuff with the fake nurses. I think it would be really hard to fake being a nurse, because there's a lot of technical things that we learn as nurses that you can't fake. And I think it would become very obvious if you were working with someone who didn't have a nursing degree. I think it would become very obvious in basic things. On the other hand, if you put me in an ICU, you might think I was a fake nurse because I don't know the first thing about all that stuff. I mean, I've heard those medications before and I know what they're used for, but I would not know about titration. I would be intimidated by all those lines, and I've said that numerous times. So, I mean, if you put me in an environment that I'm not familiar with in nursing, you might think I'm an idiot. But if you come to me in my area, you will find out that I know what I'm doing. I guess that's all I have to say on that. I don't know how people are faking degrees and faking their whole knowledge base without being caught. I remember though, when I first took a job for a hospice company, for the first time when I became a hospice nurse, they actually tested me and graded me on my knowledge before they hired me. And it wasn't like, okay, you're hired because we like you. I mean, they did a background check, they checked my nursing license, and not just a background check, in one state, in every state that I lived, and under every name that I ever had. Maybe just people aren't honest. And maybe the problem is that I am honest. So I don't understand how people can do that with a straight face, because I would be terrified. I would be terrified of going to prison if I did something like that. I just don't, the audacity is just astounding to me. I understand the desire to want to do something like become a nurse, and that's a valid desire, and I encourage people to get their education and do that. But I feel like if you haven't gone through the necessary steps, you have no idea. I mean, nursing school is rigorous, and becoming a nurse and being a baby nurse and working through all those things and the challenges that come with it, it's extremely intimidating and nerve-wracking when you do your first job. And I think everybody should have those experiences. I think everybody should have the experience of going through clinicals, taking your boards and getting nervous about failing. I think everybody should go through that experience. And I don't agree with people who fake it. Shame on you. The other things that I've been hearing in the interwebs is I used to really like Dr. Oz. I would watch him in the morning when I was taking care of my son at home. I got to stay home with my son for a year, and I watched Dr. Oz every morning, and I really loved watching him, and I loved the knowledge that he would share. I really enjoyed watching his show and learning new things. And then I married a Turkish person, and so then, it was even more endearing to me, Dr. Oz. However, I had to do some investigating on my own, because there were some disturbing things going around about Dr. Oz on the internet. Things that suggested he was attacking nurses. But when I really started looking into it, I think his intention is not to demean nurses or attack them, in my personal opinion. Maybe I need to do more research. I'm sure that's controversial. But it seems like he understands there's a shortage. He does want more human, compassionate nurses at the bedside, but he also recognizes the shortage of nursing and is trying to come up with a solution that involves AI and telehealth. Unfortunately, I do disagree with the idea that an AI nurse could provide standard of care. I just don't think that an AI nurse, sure, they would know, technical things, but we've all worked with technology, and technology fails us. Technology crashes. It isn't always reliable. Is technology smart? Yeah, absolutely, and has come a long way. And I love seeing how far technology can go. I love learning new things, and I love having the internet at my fingertips. But I don't think it's fair to just trust AI with our patients. And I think it takes away something personal that nurses give at the bedside. And I think that our focus should truly be on fixing the shortage and retention of nurses and education and training and those sorts of things. And he has said things toward that. So I'm not going to speak a lot on Dr. Oz. I disagree with some of the things he said, but I think that his heart's in the right place. I think he still has a heart for the patient, and I think he still does understand that nursing is important. At the same time, I guess when you're trying to fix the need that exists as nurses, why are we leaving healthcare? Why are we overwhelmed? Because we don't have enough people to help us, and the conditions are making it as such that we don't want to keep putting ourselves at risk as nurses, right? We don't want to lose our licenses. We worked hard for them. We don't want to be in a situation where we might make a mistake and hurt somebody. That is the biggest concern with working short-staffed. And so I think, how do we fix that? I think that's been the challenge for many years now. And I've been a nurse over 24 years, and I think that it has been a constant conversation since I became a nurse. And I don't think that conversation is going away until things change in healthcare. I think things have to change in healthcare. We have to demand safe patient ratios. We can't put one nurse to 40 patients. And I think where AI would be useful is charting, because all the documentation that we have to do sitting at a desk as nurses, if we had AI to help us with our charting, maybe that would be beneficial. I mean, we'd still have to double check it, but maybe that's where AI could be used and be more beneficial, is the documentation that we spend hours doing. The documentation that we spend hours doing. We find ourselves crushed for time. We are trying to make sure that we are documenting everything that's happening. I don't know how we can integrate nursing and documentation into efficiency. It's very hard to be efficient sometimes when you've got 40 patients and one person falls on the floor and one person's having chest pain and possibly going into a cardiac arrest. You have one person that is tripping and losing their bananas on you. You have multiple things coming at you at once as a nurse, and it's very challenging to do that day in and day out and day in and day out and not become burned out. And I know that our bosses and the companies that care about their employees, because I've worked for some really great companies that do care, I know that they focus on ways that we can help ourselves not be burned out, but ultimately if we can't fix these problems, it's not going to change the bottom line. And that's what we need to look at, the bottom line. How can we help our nurses be more efficient? Not taking away from our nurses that have busted their buns to get where we are. And that's all I'm going to say about that. The latest thing that I've been reading and learning and researching about and plan to get involved with is the federal government, the Department of Education, wants to, I don't want to say this wrong, but from my understanding of things, they're not going to recognize certain nursing degrees as professional or eligible for student loans on a federal level. I have been working toward becoming a nurse practitioner. And if the Department of Education and the federal government take away what nurses have worked so hard to establish, I just don't know how they could do that. Nursing has been a profession for many years. Nurses have come a long way, and doctors getting up in arms about nurse practitioners, stop it. I mean, I have been a consumer and I have been a healthcare worker. I've been a patient and I have been a nurse. And I will tell you that the idea of not having a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant or a different practitioner to meet the needs that the doctors are not meeting, again, because of shortages and high demands and the healthcare things, the increase in longevity, people are living longer, they're having diseases, doctors are not always getting to see their patients in a timely manner. And if there weren't nurse practitioners, professional nurses, and physician's assistants caring for those patients and meeting that need, patients would go without the care that they need and without the treatments that they need. And so I do plan to get involved in this. And if you're a nurse, I suggest that you get involved and write who you need to write. I have been doing research about it and I am going to look into it further and write my government about this. I think it's important for us as nurses to have our voices heard. And I am so passionate about this profession and how far it's come over the years. And anyone who would seek to demean our profession as a whole, really, why? I understand what you would stand to gain from it as the government. I understand, but you are taking away the ability of people to further their education. To stop us at BSN? Why? Why are we not being recognized as the professionals that we are? We are professionals and we are doing amazing things in healthcare too. And we are a good support system for doctors. And so are physician's assistants. I have met many doctors who rely heavily upon their nurse practitioners. I guess that's just something to think about. It is something I'm passionate about and I want to learn more and find out how I can help and find out how my voice can be heard. And I encourage you as a nurse to add your voice. And I know that the American Nurses Association is getting involved and I know other people are getting involved, but nursing should realize that we have a responsibility to affect change in our profession. And we have a responsibility to prevent people from demeaning our profession as nurses. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, and I'm just starting to learn about it, but it makes me angry. It makes me angry that a master's degree nurse or an advanced practice nurse or a doctorate nursing degree would not be recognized as professional, because that is a lot of education and a lot of experience. I mean, we're not just getting out there, pushing ourselves out there with no effort. It is not easy to pass these classes and it's not easy to do the jobs that we're doing. So I think that is not a reasonable decision that the government should make. There are a lot of nurses in the workforce and we're taking care of people's families and loved ones, and we're doing it compassionately under the circumstances. And I have met some really amazing physician's assistants and nurse practitioners, and to diminish that or take that away or affect that in a professional capacity would do harm to this country. And I believe that with all of my heart. So you'll be hearing from me, I'll be writing you. And I think we should all add our voices as nurses to this decision. I don't think it's a decision that should be made lightly. I'm hearing that it's a decision that may go into effect in 2026. It's not set in stone. I know we're all worried about it. I am. If you're paying attention, pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening in your government. That is what I want to say. That's a hot topic. As a nurse, you should be paying attention and using your voice in your government. And that's a hill I will die upon. And I think that's enough seriousness for one day. How are you feeling about these things you hear in the news? What else are you hearing about that's got you concerned about in healthcare and nursing? What are you doing to take action in your community and in your area to help your profession and to help healthcare? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to talk about it. I know not everybody agrees and we're all going to have disagreements, but I would love to still talk about it. So if you have anything to contribute to this conversation, please feel free to leave a comment and I will comment back. And if you like what you see here, then I ask that you like, subscribe, and follow for more. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.